All right, let's talk about a term that's got developers everywhere, well, fired up. Vibe coding. Is it some kind of revolutionary new tool, or is it a dangerous shortcut that's just going to kill real skill? And this comment, man, it just perfectly captures the whole debate, right? It gets right to that skepticism that so many developers are feeling. So let's actually dig in and see if we can make sense of it all. Okay, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the debate itself. Then, we'll try to figure out what people even mean by this term. After that, we'll get into the best argument for it, explore the biggest danger, and finally, uncover where its real potential might actually be. So, first up, the debate. And yeah, the whole conversation around vibe coding is kind of stuck between these two crazy extremes, which makes it almost impossible to talk about productively. So you've got these two camps, right? On one side, it's all hype. AI is going to replace all the engineers. Then you've got the other side, just pure hate. This is a total joke for role players who want to feel like hackers without doing any real work. And as it usually goes, the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. All right, let's move on. And honestly, a huge reason this whole debate is such a mess is that nobody seems to agree on what vibe coding even is. You know, people are throwing this term around to mean like four totally different things. For some people, it's just, fancy autocomplete in their editor. For others, it's an expert who's deliberately ignoring the code that gets generated. And then there's the whole idea of a total beginner trying to build an app with it. I mean, these things aren't even in the same ballpark. So, how in the world do we make sense of all this? Well, what if we mapped it all out on a simple grid? Okay, now this is where it starts to click. Look at this grid. We've got two simple axes. Do you know how to code or not? And are you actually reading the code or not? The whole idea of vibe coding, the term itself, it really came from the experts up in box B, people who know their stuff but are choosing not to read the output for certain tasks. But all the drama, all the criticism, that's all focused on the danger zone down in box A, where you have people who don't know code and aren't reading it. Okay, so now that we have that framework, we can finally talk about what this is actually for. Let's get to the real argument behind why a skilled developer would do this. So let's go with this definition. Vibe coding is when you're intentionally not reading the code much. And the big question is, why would any good developer ever do that? It sounds kind of crazy, doesn't it? And boom, this quote right here is the whole aha moment. It's the key. There is a ton of code out there that you absolutely need to have, but it is just not worth your time to sit down and carefully write or even read. Think about it like this. This is the new way to solve the old package problem. Remember LeftPad? You'd install this whole external thing just for one tiny function, introducing a dependency you know nothing about. You never read that code, right? Well, with vibe coding, you just generate the 3 lines you need. You still don't read the code, but, and this is huge, you own it. No sketchy dependency. Here's another way to think about it. Vibe code is basically legacy code from day one. You're just skipping all the middle parts, you're creating something that you know is going to be forgotten and never touched again, but you're doing it on purpose to solve a problem right now and just move on. But, okay, this is really important. This power, it comes with a huge risk. A really critical danger you have to watch out for. And this quote is the golden rule. Seriously, if the tools are better than you, stop using them. These things are supposed to be a force multiplier. They're meant to be like more of you, but a dumber version of you. They are not a crutch. The moment the AI is consistently outsmarting you and writing code you don't understand, you've got a problem. And that's the real danger zone, right? It's when the tool helps you get past a problem, but you didn't actually learn anything in the process. It's like this siren's call tempting you to just not know. It gives you this comfort in ignorance, and that is a total trap for your own growth as a developer. So, okay, if you can avoid that trap, what's the upside? What does this actually unlock for you? Well, it opens up this whole new world of practical, personal creativity. Let's take a real-world example. Say you're constantly having to convert SVG files to PNGs for, video editing. It's annoying, right? It's a manual task, it's not a big enough problem to spend a week building a full-blown app, but with vibe coding, you could whip up a simple little web tool in like 15 minutes. You upload an SVG, you get a PNG. Boom, daily annoyance solved. And that quote right there, that's the whole point. We're talking less about giant platforms and more about personal software, stuff that doesn't have to be perfect or scalable. It just has to solve your problem, or maybe a problem for you and a couple of friends.
I mean, just think about that for a second. What if, say, 90% of all those tiny, annoying little software problems you deal with every single day could just disappear? Solved with code you never even have to look at again. That's the real promise here. So at the end of the day, the takeaway isn't that vibe coding is here to replace your skills, and it's definitely not for people who can't code. It's a tool to empower the skills you already have to solve a whole new class of problems, the ones that were always just a little too small to be worth the effort. And that leaves us with one last thought. What annoying problem would you solve with code you knew you were just going to throw away?